Good afternoon. Seems like we've spent a couple of years preparing for AI failure. Bad outputs, broken workflows, security gaps, hallucinations, drift, misuse, you name it. All of those matter. But I want to start somewhere else. Because what I believe we are less prepared for is something quieter, something harder to spot because it doesn't always show up as an obvious failure condition. AI didn't fail, but human judgment? That started drifting out of frame. That's the issue I want to put light on today. Because in many environments, especially high trust, high speed environments, the real risk is not always what the model gets wrong. Sometimes it is what people stop questioning once the model gets enough things right. That right there is the doorway into this discussion. This is the progression I want to focus on. A system begins as a tool. Humans use tools. Humans remain clearly in charge. Then the tool becomes a trusted tool. It proves useful. It saves time. It shows consistency. Confidence grows. Now, if we are not careful, the trusted tool becomes something more. It starts functioning as a default authority. And here's why that matters. Because reliability has a consequential way of dressing itself up as authority. The more often a system is right, or right enough, the more people begin to lean on it without bringing the same level of scrutiny they once did. Nothing dramatic happened. No formal handoff, no policy memo saying the machine is now in charge. And yet, something has shifted. That's exactly how decision ownership starts to drift. This is where things start to unravel. On paper, the workflow still looks clean. The system recommends, a human approves, the next step executes. That sounds controlled. It sounds reasonable. It sounds like the human is still firmly in the loop. But that's not always what is really happening, because visible approval can mask thinning scrutiny. Let's take a simple example. An analyst receives an AI recommendation. A reviewer signs off because the system has been right enough times to earn trust. Then the next step executes automatically, or near automatically, within the workflow. Now step back and ask the harder question. Who actually owned that decision? Because if nobody can clearly explain where human judgment ended and machine momentum began, then we are not just talking about automation. We are talking about accountability blur. This is the blind spot. Traditional security and governance thinking is often wired to look for failure events. Something trips, something crashes, something gets exploited, something breaks policy, something breaks technically. But this problem does not require any of that. Nothing has to break for control to erode. That is what makes this so easy to miss. The model can be working exactly as designed. The workflow can be efficient. The outputs can be useful. The team can even believe things are improving. And still, over time, the human role in challenge, judgment, and decision ownership can get thinner and thinner. So the real question in agentic systems is not just what the model can do. It is this. Who still owns the decision? Who recommends? Who approves? Who executes? Who answers for the outcome? Those questions sound simple, but they cut straight to the heart of accountability. That is why I use the term agentic role mapping. This is where I shift from diagnosis to response. If organizations are going to move faster with AI and agentic systems, they need more than capability maps. They need authority maps. They need to define, clearly and intentionally, who is allowed to recommend, who is allowed to approve, who is allowed to execute, and who remains accountable for the consequence. That is the practical response, because visible approval is not always meaningful review. And this is the point I want to leave you with. Agentic systems do not erase accountability. They obscure it. If we are serious about using these systems responsibly, then we cannot stop at capability. We have to define authority, clearly, deliberately, and before the workflow defines it for us. I'm Alan Wesley, and this is Agentic Role Mapping. Got 2 minutes? Add your voice to the AI conversation. Scan the QR code. Take the survey. Be sure to follow me on my socials: LinkedIn, Medium, Substack, and YouTube.